Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. And Dawn, thank you so much for hosting this webinar. My name is Eliza Parrish, and I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement for the Mason School of Business at the College of William and Mary. And this is yet another in our series to provide you ongoing career and professional and lifelong learning support from your alma mater. I am delighted today to introduce Professor Edmiston, Dr. Edmiston. She is one of our new faculty, and we are so delighted to have her on board and the expertise that she offers our students and, of course, you, our alumni. She has more than 20 years of marketing experience in the consulting, education, and media sectors. She has traveled extensively across the United States and international markets in her previous management roles with PricewaterhouseCoopers, Discovery Channel, and IBM. She's currently a clinical associate professor of marketing, and before joining us, she taught at Howard University, Johns Hopkins University, St. Vincent College, Trinity College, and West Virginia University. She has extensive training and preparation for her professorship. She has an MBA from Columbia University, a BS from Rensselaer Polytechnic, and her PhD from University of Maryland University College. You can learn more about Dawn and her research on the website, which we've sent you, but I won't take up any more of the time from the webinar and rather jump straight to you, Professor Edmiston.
Thank you. Hello. It is such a pleasure and a privilege to be with all of you. From the RSVP list, it looks as though we have alumni from around the world interested in these insights, which I am very excited to share with you. As a quick personal background, as Eliza mentioned, I just became a very proud member of the tribe this past summer, and I joined the marketing faculty. In fact, I was hired specifically to infuse digital media insights into our marketing curriculum and to develop the marketing course for our new online MBA program that we just launched. So if any of you happen to be interested in considering an MBA and with the College of William and Mary, this online program will allow you to do so from anywhere in the world. And with that said, before I actually start sharing the process of developing POP with you, I want to share with you the impetus for why I actually was inspired to create this process. So I was previously a tenured professor at St. Vincent College near Pittsburgh, and we had an excellent career placement rate for our students after graduation. However, as all of you know, the market took a dramatic turn for the worse in 2008, which resulted in 2009 being the toughest labor market in 25 years for our graduating college seniors. And unfortunately, that situation has not necessarily improved. The class of 2014 will be the 6th consecutive graduating class to enter the labor market during a period of profound weakness. So in many instances, I suspect that there are several executives that are joining us on the webinar today that have been affected by these same market conditions. So I want to share with you this developing POP concept in hopes that it will help you better understand not only what we teach our students here at the College of William and Mary, but what we hope to empower our alumni to be able to do with their professional online presence. So before we even start to focus on online media, I want to challenge you to consider, what is your brand promise? In effect, what should customers and employers expect from your products and services? This can be a difficult task. It's not always easy to consolidate your years of experience into a simple brand promise. And I will admit that it personally took me much longer than I ever expected to develop my own brand promise. However, I like to think that I teach people how to pursue and promote their passions. And I hope I'm doing just that with this webinar. And as another example of a brand promise, if I were to share this statement with you, changing the world through innovation, I suspect that many of you immediately thought that this represented the brand promise of Steve Jobs. So the value of a brand promise is something that we need to use as a guiding force in our personal and professional lives. Personally, at this point in my career, I do not typically do things that are not directly related to my brand promise. For example, I was recently asked to contribute to a project focused on research relative to Bitcoins and the potential impact of Bitcoins in the market. And I simply declined that invitation because it did not reinforce the brand promise that I'm seeking to continue to share with others. So we've considered our brand promise. Again, this is an exercise that you need to focus upon before actually being able to share what that brand promise is through online media. And then once we understand our brand promise and we understand who can potentially benefit from our services, we need to ask ourselves, how can we reach them? And that's where we're going to focus upon the power of developing a professional online presence. So the first video today I want to share with you is on the concept of socialnomics. And I want to share this video with you so that you have an appreciation of how social media is now being used as a communication channel, not simply for personal purposes, but for professional purposes as well. Now, I want to share a quick poll with you. I'm curious as to how many of you have actually seen the Socialnomics video before. If you could take a moment to respond, thank you. Great. So it seems as though it was relatively new for over 90% of you. Great. So I certainly want to be able to share with you, again, what I'm sharing with our students here at the College of William and Mary as well, and hopefully inspire new insights. I wonder if we could chat about any of the comments. Thank you, Annabelle, for that comment at Catchy Video. Were there particular statements in that video that really impacted you, that you saw the statement and you thought, oh my goodness, I had no idea that this was how the world was moving, or this is how social media was affecting the world around us? More people on the mobile device and the toothbrush. That is typically what my students focus upon first as well. And of course, we discuss why that may be the case. Of course, in many developing nations, mobile devices are how they communicate, and they have different concepts relative to personal hygiene. The average attention span is 7 seconds. Oh, yes, indeed. Again, if any of you are seeking new opportunities for careers, many recruiters will tell you they give no more than 6 to 8 seconds, a quick look at your resume. So something else I'll be sharing with you in a few minutes is how we're using digital media to create personal pitch videos for our students. Grandparents on Twitter, yes, this is very true. Goldfish are a better target than people. Thanks, Bob. 6-second Vine is replacing the 30-second commercial. Again, the power. When I don't even like to use this term. When I was an undergraduate, we often talked about the 2-minute soundbite. At this point, we're fortunate if we get 6 seconds of media exposure. So thank you for sharing all of those great comments. I also appreciate the comment about the average age on LinkedIn is now 13. We will be talking about LinkedIn to a greater extent in a few minutes. And please continue to post your questions in the chat session. I have an amazing team working with me here at the College of William and Mary, and they will help keep me updated as to any questions that you might have throughout the presentation. Final statement I want to share with you before we move into the 10-step process on developing a professional online presence is one that information found online provides a digital footprint that implicitly brands people. So that means that even if you do not seek to develop and own your own online presence, others will do it for you. So hopefully this 10-step process will empower you to develop that professional online presence. And we start initially with establishing an online identity. And this first step is simpler for those of us who have names like Dawn Edmiston than it is for those who have names like John Smith. And if that happens to be you, I would be glad to work with you in that regard to help develop an online identity that is both reflective of you as an individual and is one that can be consistently used across the online environment. I have another quick poll. I want to take how many of you have Googled yourself in the past month? Thank you so much for these quick responses. So it looks as though we have about the majority of individuals have not Googled themselves in the past month. So I would certainly encourage you either to do so as we're continuing to connect with each other through this webinar, or once this webinar concludes, to definitely Google yourself, and Google yourself on a computer that you've not used before. Obviously, our computer technologies learn about us, And it would be ideal if you could Google yourself on a colleague's computer, or I encourage our students to Google themselves in our library. And it's often very revealing when students Google themselves. They do not always appreciate that they still have a MySpace account that's active. And that's a very important part, not only to Google yourself and look at the web links that are returned, but also look at the images. What images are in the marketplace that are representing you and your online identity. You may also want to consider simply purchasing your own URL. It costs typically $9.95 a year to own that online identity, and it's important for you to continue to focus on building that online identity in whatever means you're able to do in an online environment. Second, you want to personalize your URLs, and you want to own what appears in the search results. So I want to share a quick example. This is how I personalize my URLs. I have a LinkedIn, Twitter, and website, and there are great tools like namecheck.com and noam.com where you can type in your online identity and see what social media tools are still available with that online identity. So these are free tools. Everything that I'm sharing to you today is available for free, with the exception of a book recommendation that I make towards the end of the presentation. But these are free tools that you can use to develop that professional online presence. Now, here is the example. If you want to take a quick look up on your right-hand side, Dawn Edmiston arrested. Okay, there are certain things that I do not want people to think about when they think about my online identity, when they think about my individual self. And Dawn Edmiston arrested is not what I want them to think about first. And I will share that I have had students and clients in the past who have had situations that have not necessarily been positive and have been online. And so I've worked with them to help strengthen their online profile. So if there were negative situations, that those situations tend to be less searchable, and they're not able to be as located quickly. If you personalize your URLs will be what rise to the top when you're in the Google environment and any search environment. Again, I would also encourage you to use Bing and other search tools. Not all search tools are created equally, and you want to be certain that whoever is looking at you, that whatever they're seeing is a presence that you want to convey that's both positive and professional. So the third step in developing a professional online presence is to develop content. And I suspect that now in this presentation, you're thinking, when will I possibly have the time to develop content? Yes, I understand crazy lives that we lead, and I want to assure you that developing content could be a relatively simple process. It could be something as simple as creating a perfect pitch, which our students just did in our class for strategic digital media. So I want to share with you one of the perfect pitch videos that our students developed, and I think it will, continue to build pride in the tribe to knowing that our students are doing such great work here at the College of William & Mary.
I've always written stories, and at William & Mary, I've been inspired to share these talents and my passion for storytelling with others. I serve as the editor of Rocket Magazine, a completely unique fashion and arts publication. It has fashion and it is art, but when I describe it to people, I call it a storybook. I conceptualize the central theme of each issue, then brainstorm every facet of what can be expressed. What hasn't been said before? What can we address in a new way? I stage our photo shoots and detailed production so that our final images represent an interpretation of culture, literature, art, and William & Mary. Each composition pushes perception beyond what is familiar. Our vision for Rocket is to use our resources to be imaginative, whimsical, and emotionally intelligent. I want to ignite responses and spark relationships with our readers through words and images and ideas. Everybody and every organization has a story to tell, and I am always seeking opportunities to create and share those stories.
So that is just one of the amazing videos that our students created. And as I mentioned, if you would like to see additional student videos, you can simply search on my name on YouTube. I'm working really hard that the students tag all of their videos with terms such as the Raymond A. Mason School of Business, the College of William and Mary, so that everybody in the YouTube environment can appreciate the amazing education that we offer here at the College of William and Mary. And I also thought that perhaps we will not necessarily have enough time to address how you craft a perfect pitch, but you are welcome to click on this video. Again, this is a video that I've shared with my students to get insights on how you might develop that perfect pitch video of your own. Now, I did notice that Ron had a great point. He said, I found out that when you Google yourself, you can get different results than when someone else Googles you at the same time. So true, because again, Google is learning about you, your computers are learning about you, so what one individual sees may not be what another individual sees. And again, that's why it's so important to take a proactive approach. You may even want to in fact, you should set up a Google alert for your name, the name of your organization. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Google Alerts. It's so simple. Type in Google Alert into your Google search engine and then type the term that you want to be updated on a daily basis. So I do have one for my own name. In fact, it alerted me yesterday that one of my recent journal articles had been published. It alerted me before the publisher even alerted me. So it's a really great tool, and I would certainly encourage you to use Google Alerts. And I think, see Tom. Tom, I'm going to try and integrate you into the conversation. Did you have a question that you wanted to share? Did you want to just type it in the chat box and maybe I could respond to it there? I appreciate this active engagement. So we will move on to our fourth point, which is to promote your brand name. I do not want you to think that the world of online and offline have to be separate worlds. They should reinforce each other. And so when you are promoting your brand name on a traditional business card, for example, you should feel free to include your personal website or your LinkedIn profile. And you should also work to promote your content and promote it in creative ways. The next example that I want to share with you is an example of a young, aspiring executive who decided to do exactly what I encourage our students to do, and that is market himself as a product, and not just any product, but an exclusive product on Amazon.com. And this was just a brilliant, creative way of promoting his content. After 8 days, his online resume attracted more than 1 million visitors. I will never review, thank goodness, 1 million resumes in my lifetime, let alone have the privilege of having my resume reviewed by 1 million individuals. So in the current online environment, digital media allows us to share these amazing experiences with each other, and I want your online presence to be one of those amazing experiences. Certainly a great example of how to promote your content in a very creative way. So the sixth step is to actively network, and this is something that should not be limited to online, naturally. You want to continue to use all of the traditional methods of networking, but LinkedIn has truly changed the way we network. If you have a chance, I would strongly encourage you, I did not include this link in the video, but we did just watch it this past week in our strategic digital media class. LinkedIn did a very impressive overview of their vision for the next 10 years. It's available on YouTube. You can simply type in LinkedIn Vision 10 years, and you will see their overview of what they're hoping to achieve in the next 10 years. Their CEO certainly puts me in the mind of a young Steve Jobs, and he has a great vision for the future of the organization and great opportunities for us relative to networking. So for those of you who may not be familiar with LinkedIn and the value of LinkedIn, I've included a quick link there for you. But I also wanted to take a quick poll do you have a LinkedIn profile? If you could just let me know. Great. Good, good, good. Yeah, Joyce mentioned that the Wall Street Journal recently slammed LinkedIn. Yes, this is true. Definitely critics relative to LinkedIn, critics of all organizations. However, I would encourage you to make your own opinions after you watch the video. I will personally share with you that I am here today at the College of William & Mary as a result of LinkedIn. I was not actively seeking a new position. I was not actively seeking to leave St. Vincent College. I was a tenured professor there. It was a wonderful organization. And one morning, Monday morning, LinkedIn sends updates. If you have a profile on LinkedIn, they will send updates based on your profile of opportunities that might be of interest to you. And this role at College of William & Mary was at the top of that list. And I looked at it and I said, oh, LinkedIn, yes, I am interested in that position. And so I applied, and it was as a result of LinkedIn that I'm here. So I suppose the Wall Street Journal can criticize it all all that it wants to do. And again, it's there are challenges with LinkedIn, but I am reflective of the power of LinkedIn and have countless students who share and clients who share opportunities that they've been given through LinkedIn. Now, I have another question to ask you. Great, 95% of us have a LinkedIn profile. I have one final poll that I'd like you to participate in, and that has to do with the personalization question I asked earlier. Have you personalized your LinkedIn profile URL? So this is very typical, where many of us have a LinkedIn profile, but we haven't taken advantage of personalization techniques, which are so critical. So again, you're welcome to do it as we continue through this webinar, at the end of the webinar, but it is very simple to personalize your LinkedIn URL. If you edit your profile, you will see your LinkedIn profile URL underneath your photograph. And if you've not personalized your LinkedIn profile URL, it will appear as a series of letters and numbers. Simply click the Edit button next to that URL, and it will bring up on the right-hand column. There'll be a small line that will ask you, do you want to customize or personalize your URL? And you can type your name in there, cross your fingers, hope that your name is still available. If not, again, you might need to be creative with a middle initial or another identifier. But it is one of the single best things that you can do to ensure that your online identity rises to the top of any link, top of any search. Great. So several great questions. Thank you so much. How often should you update your LinkedIn? You should update your LinkedIn to remain active, to be certain that the information that you're sharing is current and updated information. In fact, I now encourage my students to have LinkedIn on their resume, because the realities of the situation are very often they will submit their resume, say for example, on February 1st, and the recruiters may not have a chance to review it until March 1st, and they could have done great things. They could have done a great class project, for example, between that time. And if they have access to their LinkedIn profile, their LinkedIn URL, you're not only able to share what you've achieved, but you can also include videos. Kelsey, for example, the video that you saw, the personal pitch video, I've required all of my students to embed their personal pitch videos in their LinkedIn profiles, because how can you truly resist our College of William & Mary students after you've seen them for just 60 seconds? So again, I would encourage you to be as active as possible with your LinkedIn profiles. The update that I received, Jonathan, was not part of the LinkedIn Premium package. This is LinkedIn. I'm actually not a premium member, so all of what I do on LinkedIn are free services. So typically every Monday, based on your profile. And so this reinforces the previous point about how often you should update your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn will take a look at keywords within your profile, and they will use those keywords to attempt to determine what opportunities might be of interest to you. And I continue to receive those messages on Monday mornings. Of course, I am in my dream job. I am not looking for additional opportunities, but I remain active in that environment because I want to be able to share those opportunities with others like you.
Dawn, this is Eliza. Did you tell me once that with people's LinkedIn, I mean, often people put their college, of course, so everyone who's on this chat will say William and Mary, but most people don't put their degrees. Does that help to have that other layer of information?
Eliza, I'm so glad that you asked that, because we now have 86 active participants in this webinar, and there were more than 250, I believe, that registered. So I suspect that there will be several folks who will be reviewing the archive of this. If you want to support your alma mater today, please do us a favor and make certain that your LinkedIn profile is updated with your specific discipline of study at the College of William and Mary. The College of William and Mary, or LinkedIn, is the latest to enter the ratings game of colleges and universities. And so their university rankings currently consist of 8, I would state, very eclectic areas. Accounting was one of those areas, and the College of William and Mary was very proud to have ranked in the top 25 of accounting programs based on the LinkedIn rankings. What is so unique about the LinkedIn rankings that U.S. News and World Report and Bloomberg and other organizations, rankings organizations, do not have access to is the fact that LinkedIn can look at your degree program and can tie that back to your future career success. So LinkedIn has developed this algorithm that looks at your degree and attempts to appreciate the value of your degree based on what you've done with that degree in your career. So again, I would ask all of our amazing alumni out there, please be certain that your LinkedIn profiles are updated to include that education discipline. I have made it my mission that we get our marketing area into the top 25 of LinkedIn university rankings as well. So thank you, Eliza, for sharing that too. Is it best to use your name or a business name, Evelyn? LinkedIn allows you to do both. If you have an organization, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, you can build a company page, but you should always have a personal LinkedIn profile. You would like us to use our degree? I'm pre-Mason school. So when I say we would like you to use your degree, what we really want is for you to use your discipline. So for example, if you studied marketing at the College of William and Mary, please be certain to mention that you studied marketing so that the Google algorithm can read that keyword and tie it back into your career success. Is it best to put the MBA after your name on LinkedIn? So I think that that's a personal preference. I've not chosen to use any of my credentials after my name, but again, that's my personal preference. In my mind, it is much more important to me that you have a personalized URL. Individuals will be able to quickly scroll down to your education and see whether or not what degrees and what credentials you have. So I'm not necessarily certain that there's great value relative to having your LinkedIn profile include your credentials in the title. But it may be very important to you and to how you're positioning yourself. And so if that is the case, I would certainly encourage you to do so. Yes, good. So I want to ask a few of my amazing individuals who I have here with me are sharing with me questions. So Evelyn had said, questions I might have missed, for which I apologize. Evelyn said, do you recommend perfect pitch be 60 seconds when the average attention span is 7 seconds? Great question. We have actually talked about this to a great extent in our class, and I suspect that moving forward, I will also be having students develop a 6-second find video. I would state to that, yes, I think 60 seconds is important to be able to convey value, but you really do have to capture their attention within the first 6 to 7 seconds if they're going to watch the entire 60-second video. So thank you for allowing me to make that clarification. Ron also asked, should you have articles with public or with shared connections? So I have 2 comments on this. First, I would encourage you, if these are professional articles that can be shared, I would encourage you to share them in a public manner. I mean, that's what LinkedIn is about. LinkedIn is about making connections, and you never quite know where those connections will be from. In fact, I'm delighted that one of my former colleagues from PricewaterhouseCoopers and IBM reached out to me through LinkedIn. They're a College of William & Mary alum, and I was so glad that we were able to connect on LinkedIn, and hopefully they're participating as well today. So I would certainly encourage you to share those professional resources in a public manner. One thing I would also suggest you do, however, and I think this is especially important perhaps for people who might be considering other career opportunities and they don't necessarily want their current employer to know, you can you can choose to not share your profile updates in a public environment. And I can actually provide Eliza with a quick statement as to how to do that. I understand she's going to reach out to all of you after our webinar and share with you this presentation. But I truly believe it is better to turn off your notifications. You don't necessarily need to know when I've posted a new profile photo or updated my background. If you're interested in me, you will connect with me, you will reach out to me. And in fact, when you do that, it could be seen as something other than what it was intended by current employers. So you may want to consider not having that notification, those notifications, consider turning them off. Is there such thing as having too many connections? Carrie, I would actually state that if they're quality connections, there is no such thing as having too many connections. I have certainly read about individuals who have made it their life's work to have as many LinkedIn connections as possible. And I think I recall that LinkedIn limits your connections to 30,000. At this point, they only share 500 plus. I do encourage my students to actively network as much as possible, but I also think that you need to be selective about who you are linked in with. I typically only link in with those individuals with whom I've made a connection. So that would be my response. Continue making those connections. Continue building your LinkedIn profile, but be certain that there's a quality element to those connections. I think I've addressed. Keep the questions coming. If I haven't addressed your question yet, if you could retype it. Again, the folks here with me have been very kind about sharing your questions, and I will continue to focus upon that. I want to get through the final few steps, and I do have a closing video that I hope will inspire you to create your digital stamp on the world. So after we've actively networked, I think it's also important to monitor your brand. Again, use tools such as Google Alerts. There are complementary tools such as Social Mention that allow you to look not only at your personal brand, but this is a great free tool for those of you who might be in organizations where you want to see what's being said about particular events or particular stories, topics related to your organization. So use tools like Social Mention to be certain that you are measuring and managing and monitoring your brand effectively. There's another tool. There are actually hundreds of tools available to measure your online presence. The one that I mentioned here, and it's not perfect, let me state that, I wouldn't necessarily simply recommend one. In fact, I teach my students that it's better to use multiple measures if possible to be able to reinforce those insights. In the case of Clout, there are organizations who are actually using a Clout score, which is typically ranged from 0 to 100, Anything over a 60 is considered very, very good relative to your online presence. And I do know of organizations who have actually asked students for their clout scores if they're going to be working in social media roles. Now, that might not necessarily be any of you, but sometimes it is interesting to see how your online presence is perceived by others. So what Clout attempts to do is they take over 400 various indicators, such as how many tweets you've shared, how you've engaged with individuals on LinkedIn, if you've connected your Facebook page to your Clout score, how active are you in Facebook, and how much clout do you have in that environment. And then they provide you with a score. So I wonder how many of you know who has the highest current clout score. Can you share on the chat session who you think might have in the US the highest clout score? Multiple attendees are typing. I appreciate that. Jimmy Fallon, ooh, good one. Taylor Swift, excellent. CEO of Facebook. Jonathan, you are the winner. It is Barack Obama. Yes, Christian, thank you. Gal, Richard Branson, definitely. Kim K, these were all great responses. In fact, the story was that Clout went through an update to its algorithm a little while ago. And one of the driving forces behind that was because the previous person who had the greatest Clout score, who's actually not mentioned in any of those comments, was Justin Bieber. And they decided that, they probably have a stronger algorithm when it's Barack Obama. So that's, Clout, again, is just a great tool. Jonathan, he certainly has a staff to make it happen. This is true. Yes, indeed. So the final two steps in developing your professional online presence are to engage your audience. One of the most frequent questions I get when I am sharing these insights is, how can I do all of what's required of me to develop a professional online presence? And the first thing I would state to you is take small steps. Do small things that make a big difference, like personalizing your URLs. And then focus on those channels where your target market is. Again, your brand promise. Who is it? What is it that you're trying to deliver? And who is it that you're trying to reach? And if those audiences don't happen to be on Facebook, for example, then do not focus on Facebook. Facebook was probably not a very good example because so many folks are on Facebook. But for example, Twitter, I do get many individuals who ask, should I have a Twitter account? And again, my statement is personally, I do have a Twitter account, and I'd welcome the chance to connect with any of you through Twitter. But I do tend to be selective about how I use Twitter. The audiences that I serve tend to be more engaged on LinkedIn, tend to be more engaged on my website. And I do use Twitter, for example, when I'm at conferences and events. So we can hashtag and build a community around those events, and I would need to be on Twitter to participate. So think about who your audience is, make certain you are in the places where they are most apt to communicate with you, and then engage your audience in those places. And finally, actively manage your brand presence. Again, just a few minutes a week, have that Google alert set up for your name, do a quick Google search, preferably on a different computer, update your LinkedIn profile, and I promise you that building and sustaining your professional online presence will be one of your most promising investments. So as I mentioned, I had one final video that I wanted to share with you, and then I will take any additional questions that we have before our session concludes at 1 o'clock.
My digital stamp. My dad oft asked, what footprints are you going to leave in the sand? It meant little then, but with time, this became a motivating line. A legacy for me, it would seem, a far-off, lofty dream. After all, who am I? I'm just average, somewhat shy. Then I realized something, you see. it is up to me, my ultimate legacy. Social media, search, mobile, and more leave digital footprints on the floor. Digital shadows, if you will, following all that I fulfill. My grandchildren and great-grandchildren, what will they see and think of me? What is my digital legacy? Will they see that I pursued my dream, or that I settled for something in between? Digital footprints remain for all time, so I can't commit the ultimate crime. What is that crime, you say? It is, of course, not seizing the day. Yes, before I die, I'd rather fail than not even try. I will reach for the sky, laugh, and cry. My legacy, you see, is truly up to me. That's my view. But now I ask, what will you do? By Eric Waldman.
So again, Eric Waldman is the amazing individual behind Socialnomics, the first video that we watched as well. I would certainly encourage you to check out his blog, and he's developed books on Socialnomics. And just a perfect ending, I think, to leave you with, what is your digital stamp? What do you want your digital stamp to be? Now, I've seen quite a few questions continuing. In fact, I'm so glad that Paul asked a question about brandyourself.com. Paul, I am a huge proponent of brandyourself.com. Not only is it an organization based out of upstate New York where I was raised, but it is a great tool for being able to, again, there are tools out there that help you manage and monitor your professional online presence. And brandyourself.com is a great tool. It's a free tool. It lets you know when the links on Google have changed. If you have a link that is a positive link and it's increased, if you have a link potentially that's a negative link or does not have a direct association with you, if that appears on the first page of Google search, brandyourself.com is a great tool to allow that to happen. Thank you so much, Paul, for mentioning it. And in fact, there are two other resources that I wanted to mention. I saw a few comments about not knowing how to use Twitter or what else is available in the market. So HubSpot is actually a provider of digital marketing media services in business-to-business environments. So they help organizations better understand how their consumers are connecting with them through digital media. But they have great white papers, webinars, infographics on how to do digital marketing, whether you're interested in search engine optimization for your organization, or if you're interested in learning about Twitter and how to develop your own personal brand, leveraging Twitter. Again, these how-to resources are free, and I would encourage you to review them for greater insights into what we've been talking about today. And I also thought it might be helpful to include the textbook, although it's not truly a textbook. It's really more of a primer that we're using in our strategic digital media class that I'm teaching here at the College of William & Mary this semester. Students have overwhelmingly said that it is their favorite book that they have purchased since they've been a student here. So that makes me very happy. I think the reason that it might be one of their favorites is because it's very practical in nature. So if you're new to this concept of strategic digital marketing, it's a great primer. And even if you're working in an organization where you have others, you may be working in marketing in an organization, but you may have others who don't necessarily understand or appreciate the value of it. I can't tell you the number of these books that I've actually distributed to other executives. So it's a great tool and one that I wanted to share with you. And the author, Evelyn, it's actually out of the Rutgers Executive Education Center. And so the book itself is a compilation of essays and insights from executives in the field, academics in the field, and that link will bring you directly there. Other than LinkedIn, what other sites do you recommend we should maintain on a weekly basis? Again, Susan, a lot of this has to do with who you are seeking to reach. you need to determine, are they, for example, Facebook is a very powerful tool. So you may decide that Facebook is a place where you need to be, or Twitter is a place that you need to be, or if you're in visual media, for example, Pinterest is where you need to be. So it really depends on who it is that you're trying to reach with your personal brand promise. Any recommendations for professional or for profile photos? Jonathan, thank you so much for this question. Your LinkedIn profile is 11 times more likely to be seen if you have a compelling profile photo. So I strongly encourage all of you. It was wonderful when I arrived at the College of William and Mary. Literally, I believe the first week of the semester, they took professional photos of all of the faculty and staff who needed to have their photos done. And so I quickly updated mine. And similar, Jonathan, I would encourage you to use the same professional photo across all of your social media. So if you take a look at me on Google Plus or Twitter or LinkedIn, you will see the same photo. I can get no greater compliment than when I am at a conference and attendees say, "Oh, you look just like your photo." That's a very good thing, and I want them to feel like they can connect with me and that they know me before they've actually even met me. So be certain to have those photos, and they do need to be professional in nature. I would encourage you to look, at the camera straight on and have a very professional photo. There may be those of you who are in a creative environment and you may decide to do something more creative with your photo, but it should be a headshot and it should be professional in nature. And if you are questioning what's appropriate or not, I welcome any and all photos. I would be glad to connect with you and review those photos and let you know my thoughts relative to effectiveness. TweetDeck is a good resource. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Ron. I appreciate that. And I should also mention that last question made me consider, if you look at my Connect info, and I hope when I log off this webinar that I will have dozens of requests to LinkedIn with all of you. In fact, if you could do me a favor and if you send me an invitation to LinkedIn, if you could just reference this webinar so I quickly know to accept your invitation, I would appreciate it. You will notice that I don't have a Facebook listed on my Connect info. I do have a Facebook page. In fact, I own facebook.com/Dawn Edmiston. But if you were to type that into your search engine at the moment, it would tell you that my profile is not accessible. And I do that simply because I use Facebook for personal purposes. I share my travel stories and my life stories. And if you want to connect with me on Facebook, I would be glad to do so. But that's not necessarily a part of my professional profile. So I simply focus on these channels that I've mentioned in my Connect info for my professional online presence.
Dawn, this is Eliza again. I have a question that's sort of tied into some of the recent questions coming in through the chat. And if no one's out there doing this, perhaps this is a business for one of you to start. Are there people now who consult individuals on how to best articulate their online presence, where they should be or shouldn't be based on their professional trajectory and aspirations?
Oh, definitely. I mean, personal branding has become a very large market. And in fact, if you want to start, one of the places I'd recommend individuals start, Eliza, create a Google alert for personal branding. And that will allow you to see who's in the field of personal branding, what they're doing, and eventually you'll be able to learn, or maybe you'll be attracted to a particular article or resource that an individual has shared, and then you may want to use them for your personal branding purposes.
I love Lisa's conundrum that just came through.
Oh, a professional fighter along the lines of a female wrestler for Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Yes, Lisa. So, again, if you should be able to update your LinkedIn profile and personalize it, that typically guarantees that your LinkedIn profile will typically rise to the top of the Google search responses. Having said that, you may also want to consider owning the website domain name if it's available, similar to what I did with dawnedmiston.com. You will want to join a great organization like the College of William & Mary that already has a great web presence, and be certain that you contribute to that web presence so that you can continue to have those mentioned, within your first page of search results. Something else, Lisa, you also probably should focus on tagging photos of you. So make certain when you're developing photos, or when you're developing posts, and when you're submitting perhaps articles, that you also include photos and photos of you, so that those are the images that appear first. So again, be certain that you include a photo on LinkedIn, include a profile photo on Google+. Even if you don't have an active Google+ presence, if you're being searched on Google, one of the first results it will find are Google+ results. So if you can continue to strengthen both the presence of your name as well as your physical image, that should help you not be confused with the WWF folks.
Well, Professor, we are nearing the end. I see that Elizabeth Griggs is typing, so while we wait for her question to come through, I just wanted to first and mostly thank you so much for giving of your expertise, your experience, and your intelligence to continue the support that the College of William & Mary provides to its former students, its alumni, and to all of you who signed in and participated. Thank you so much. We've been doing a number of these, as you know, and we will continue to. Obviously, if there are any topics that you're particularly eager to be engaged for more engagement, let me know. I think you all have my email, but I will send out the link, the recorded webinar, and I think Dawn has promised to include a couple of other ideas and links within that email, so that will come shortly. And again, thank you so much, and your feedback is always welcome, so please share it with us before we shut this down. And any final comments, Professor Edmiston?
Well, I do see a few comments relative to nicknames, maiden names, and those are difficult decisions. And those are decisions that you need to make. I'm having those very same conversations with my students. I have a student whose formal name is Alexandra, but she's always been known as Allie. And if that is who she wants to be, then she needs to own Allie. So again, those are personal decisions, but they are decisions that should remain consistent. The online environment does not necessarily, it's not able to discern between nicknames and professional names. So we need to be very focused about what we choose for our online identities.
And Elizabeth, you can come back to William & Mary anytime you want.
I'm so glad. Yes, I hope that I have a chance to not only connect with all of you on LinkedIn, but be able to connect with you at future alumni events as well.
Thank you all. We are coming up on Charter Day, so hopefully some of you will be able to join us, and others, if you can't, be thinking it's now 300 and how many years? 22 of the great College of William & Mary, and we're delighted that all of you are engaged. And Professor Edmiston, it bears repeating, thank you so very much. And all of you can keep your comments coming. We will enjoy them, and we will get back to you very soon with the copy. Thanks.